Thank you for joining me for Young Jedi Adventures Season 2, Episode 12, Unmasked Thoughts. This video will have spoilers for the show leading up to and including this episode, and potentially everything Star Wars that has come out by now. And yeah, the episode is for ages 6 and up, so will this video be. And yeah, another quite good, at times great episode of the show, like all the ones that came before it. So, yes, as I've talked about in earlier videos, yeah, we are, Cyrus is getting his redemption arc. I quite appreciate here that he is not quite ready yet to make the right choice to choose good. Like, he's genuinely given an ultimatum, and he still chooses evil. Um, and yeah, it is important that when we see someone else doing evil, that we try to convince them to do the right thing. And yeah, sometimes, like they said in this episode, sometimes that hurts. Sometimes it feels like you made the wrong choice, but doing the right thing is never the wrong choice. But yeah, I quite appreciate the status quo change that now everybody knows Cyrus and Tabor are one and the same. I can imagine. I mean, now that everybody knows, it's not just the Jedi and Nash. I maybe in an upcoming episode. Keeping in mind, I haven't watched past this episode as I'm recording this. I am aware that other episodes are out. I can imagine there might be, like, maybe his parents will react to it, or maybe they won't be reunited. And yeah, I think the Kai is going to keep trying to convince Tabor to start doing good, as he has done a little bit. Keep doing good. He has done a little bit of good, but now there's the added layer that he also knows, you know, about the yeah, that Kai and Cyrus is one and the same. But I think that brings us to the scene by scene stuff. So, um, a lot of the time, I would call out, if you're doing an action scene and it's basically just someone like training or exercising or that sort of thing, that's a little like, okay, like we can kind of just deduce that probably takes place off screen, even if we're not seeing it. Let's have something where we're like emotionally engaged. But here it's set up that is later paid off on, twice even. Um, first the once he knows that Cyrus is Tabor, at first he can't trust him, so he messes up the move, and then there at the end he trusts him enough that he can do the move again. Yeah, he does, like many of us, if we're willing to admit, have done. Yeah, they discovered a really powerful move, and they're spamming it. That's many of us have been there with video games. I think that pretty well. I'm glad that some of the other characters did get to do some cool stuff later in the episode, because it is like at first they are basically just cheerleading. Not saying there's any shame in cheerleading, but when you're super powerful Jedi, yeah. Um, and right there at the start of the episode, we're already seeing Kai, like they let's see, they both know the move, but Kai he's getting better at, he in earlier episodes he was he would rush into things without thinking through. And here it's Cyrus who's egging him on because like um, the fact that he chooses to do evil, even though like it's not necessary evil. It's because he's basically acting out. Um, and yeah, uh, a lot of the time in real life, that comes from some impulse control problems. That's it. Um, we got there eventually, and it is a very cool move, I will say. And it does look like right out of a video game or something. Like, imagine actually swinging like a helicopter like that yourself for even a few seconds. You, yeah, it would make you super dizzy. But you know, Jedi is Star Wars. They can do things that we can't in the real world. No, I'm not asking for any piece of fiction to be like a documentary to be 100% realistic. It just amused me. I think, does that pretty well bring us to the let's see. Yeah. We see the Gangles still in control of Yarum Tower. Really appreciate that bit of continuity. So in general, show's got good continuity. And the thing about, um, yeah, the seemingly they show up without any, you know, yeah, without offering any treasure. And calmly, the leader of the Comet Runners, I think they were called, explains, I'm not interested in treasure. I'm interested in the one thing that matters these days. Information. And yeah, presents the fact that there's all this treasure, which also appreciate, by the end of the episode, they still got to keep that treasure. I also can't help but wonder if that might have repercussions, possibly through Cyrus himself, possibly through his parents finding out. I think that pretty well brings us to and the point made about the only one who can protect um, that treasure is the spoilt brat prince. I mean, absolutely. Ultimately they do end up running off of the treasure anyway, but it would have had an even easier time if not for Kai and the others. And you also have the thing about the other attack, the attack on the village. And that's also, that is actual military tactics in real world, divide and conquer. I think that pretty well. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of, I want to say his name was Sun Tzu, Art of War, this thing of like, let's see if I can get the quote right. To defeat your enemy, you must know your enemy. And it helped a lot that they knew so much about. Yes, I think that pretty well brings us to the the alarm goes off, and the yeah, we're told, Cyrus's parents already left. They didn't wait to make sure he was safe. And yeah, they just fled. They didn't stand and fight at all, which, obviously part of that is also they probably have zero combat training. But yeah, it is again, it is an element of, his parents just aren't, the best, and it's important to teach kids to question authority. And it is definitely, again, I'm not calling for anyone to stand fight if they can't, but pay close attention to what authority figures do when there is a problem. There's a saying, you do not truly know someone until you fight them. And I think there's, it's an extremely accurate statement. And another thing, and I'm sure someone else has already made a clever quote about this. I don't know the word, so I'll just have to on my own. But yeah, what someone does when there is a problem of some kind, especially if they're an authority and there is some reasonable expectation that they take action to help resolve the problem. Hypothetically, if let's see, let's call him Ed Schmooze. If Ed Schmooze had a position of authority and he kept frickin' leaving every single time that there was, at the times when he's most needed, I don't know, maybe don't vote for him next time. I think, and if you're not in a position to vote for or against him, speak up against him. But I think that pretty well brings us to, but yeah, it is, yeah, there's several things with the actual reveal to Kai. We, the viewer, of course, already know, but yeah, right. Also, really appreciate several. This is not the first time that Cyrus / Tabor has gotten an entire episode dedicated to him. Rather than two stories in one episode. I think it works well that most episodes are two stories, but yeah, for these where they have more. I think it's really great that they don't try to trim it out. Most of the stories that only take up half an episode, I think they would end up with filler if they tried to fill an entire episode. I think that, but yeah. So Cyrus just says, "Can you get me the?" Poor guy never did get his tool. But yeah. Kai opens the locker and finds, so yeah, several things going on. One of the things here is the fact that Tabor at this point, Cyrus at this point, doesn't even think that much about, like, it's just, like sometimes when someone is caught doing something evil, it's, it can be that they just got so cocky that they're like, no one's ever going to be able to stop me. It's also, maybe it's such a big part of them that it's almost hard to hide, even if they at least sometimes try to. But yeah, he finds his training saber and sees the helmet, and I really appreciate the weight it's given, that because it really does shatter his conception of Cyrus. I mean, it looks almost like a panic attack. It's like, it's intense, the level of emotion he feels, and it affects him for, essentially the rest of the episode. Like near the end, he is able to trust Cyrus enough that they can do the move again. But even so, but yeah, he stands there looking at the helmet and goes, "That can't be. That's impossible." And then he searches his feelings, knows it to be true. But yeah, the thing about, the droid also wants Cyrus evacuated, and yeah, he thinks that is simply not acceptable. And it is this interesting thing of, because like Cyrus sometimes does do good. His people think highly of him. Tabor is very much ego, and the protection of the palace and the jewels, there's a little bit of both going on, like he obviously doesn't want the like he thinks that he is too important and too skilled for them to be able to win, you know. So that's ego. But yeah, at the same time, like, I mean, it's let's see. He says it himself. If they can't keep getting away with this, and it is true that if you don't stand up to bullies, they will keep, um, yeah. And there's also the element that sometimes it takes one to know one, and he himself is sometimes a bully. As Tabor, he is a bully. And at the same time, it's the kind of thing when he says it and the Jedi hear, they're also like, yeah, you have to stand up to bullies, because it is at this point a lot of us know it. But yeah, I can imagine some of the first people to realize it, to verbalize it, to put it into action were themselves bullies, or maybe had friends who were bullies. But yeah, it's a psychological thing. Like if you don't know, you don't know. Um, but yeah, let's see the fact that yeah, there at the start, he trusts him. Kai trusts Sai, and now I forgot his name. Tabor. For now, he's Tabor until I remember his name. My wrists are too sore to look it up right now. Um, but yes, the let's see. He Yeah, there's enough trust that they can do the move at the start, but then after he sees the mask, he looks at Let's go with that. Cyrus, yes, and all he can see is Tabor, And again, that's an important thing to teach kids. Like sometimes we learn horrible things about people we trust. Um, in real life, thankfully, it's very rarely that they're secretly a pirate in space, but um, you know, part of growing up is realizing that people you trusted, they're not perfect. Not everybody, yeah. And there are other episodes that explore that you learning something you didn't know about someone in your life, it doesn't mean that they're engaged in evil activities. There's other episodes where it's like, well, you might think this person feels no fear, but they actually do, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it is extremely important to explore. You know, I think we probably all at one point or another in our lives find ourselves trusting someone and then later realizing that person just does not is not to be trusted. Um, and if you learn it at age 6, you're going to be better prepared. Um, yes, I think that covers that scene. So yeah, after that, he's like, I'm not letting you out of my sight. and Cyrus is like, what? And then he's like, no, because we're, I got your back, remember? And the thing about the robot. So we see Kai. Well, we don't see it, but we see him lure away the robot, and then he, off screen, takes it out. And then, you know, he sees Cyrus running, in a place he didn't expect him to, and he assumes that Cyrus must not have dealt with the robot. And that again is like when you realize that someone you used to trust doesn't deserve that from you, you it depends on circumstance, but sometimes it is important to keep in mind, that person is not just like 100% a jerk. They're not, they might still be able to do some things right. It's also important that when we see someone doing evil, we don't assume that everything they do must be, evil. Yeah, I think that pretty well, let's see. I feel like there's one more thing with that. It was very cool seeing the attack on the village, and them fending off with, yeah, Nubs has some very cool moves there, and I love the camera, moving from the fighting and then panning across, and we see, or I guess floating across, almost like a drone shot. Yeah, the some of the people in danger, and yeah, and the way that basically uh, Kai keeps having chances to tell the others, and he keeps putting it off. I think that covers the, and that's also part of it. When you realize something really upsetting that also affects other people, how do you tell them? When do you? Yeah. So he. Let's see. They both. Yeah. So the two of them fight the Gangles, and the let's see. We have the cute little gag with, I can open any lock, and then he just, yeah, he's got a machine for it. But yeah, and they did a good job building up the, there's several elements in play. So Toda Joe, I think is his name. He realizes, well, hey, while the others are fighting, it's 2 against 2, so they, the other Gangles can keep the two of them occupied. He'll, get the treasure. So we've got that. We have the trust issues, and Cyrus, really not wanting the treasure to get into the Gangles' hands. They do a good job on that, and here we do have an action scene where it is like emotionally charged. I think that might, yeah. And for at first, like Kai does agree to do the move, and it seems like, maybe it'll work, but then he again sees, Cyrus as Tabor, and he just can't. And it actually ends up making it worse. They end up locked inside. Yeah. And let's see, yeah, I really appreciate the ultimatum, because that is definitely sometimes necessary. There are a number of people who were in a bad situation where it was a matter of choice. It's not always. And if someone is in a situation where they, that they can't get out of on their own, then you shouldn't judge them, even if what they're doing is causing harm. You should try to help them out of that situation. If you can't do it personally, maybe get them into contact with someone who can. But yes, there are times where it is genuinely, you say, look, it's me or the thing you're doing that we both know is wrong. If you refuse to move away from it, that I am out of your life, that has worked. It's not just something Hollywood loves to throw in. It actually, there are a number of um, real life stories where that was exactly what someone needed to realize, you know, because like, if you don't feel like there are people in your life that are more important than the bad thing you're engaged in, yeah, like, that makes it harder to make the decision to stop it. Let's see. I think that, but yeah, and he ends up telling him. He shows him the saber, and that was also a really great use of. I mean, they must have had the at least inkling of an idea, concept of a plan to do this when they had Tabor get the training saber, because that was a while ago. And that's also, the fact that he didn't get rid of the saber. I mean, the helmet would also have had to be hidden, but yeah. And yeah, he shows it to him and says, "I know who you are," and yeah, makes the ultimatum, and yeah, Cyrus actually does run off after the Gangles, even though like it's such an obviously hopeless. There's no way that he's going to be able to take on all of those pirates and win. Like, it's simply, it isn't done. And there we very much see ego and lack of impulse control. Like, if his friends had not shown up, yeah, he would not have gotten out of that situation. And let's see, yeah, the fact that he still after that chooses to keep being a pirate, yeah, he definitely still has a way to go before he is um, redeemed. But yeah, let's see, I think that might pretty well bring us. It is interesting. There are a number of Star Wars stories where, um, a helmet is taken off or opened or that sort of thing to reveal who someone really is, or something about them at least. And here, it's the helmet not being on, but just being present and accounted for. Let's see. And we do also see that, yeah, he does have multiple of the helmets, because he didn't go back to the other room, because that's where the Jedi went so that Kai could show the helmet. Um, but let's see. Love Nash's energy here, but in general, she's great, but just, yeah, she points out, so our friend, who's technically our enemy, needs, needs our help, and we're outmanned, outmaneuvered, outgunned. All we have left is guile. I'm in. Just, yeah. I mean, obviously, in real life, don't always jump into a situation that's utterly hopeless. But yeah, sometimes a can-do attitude can do. Uh, yeah, I like that at first he did, really do a pretty decent job against the Gangles, and that some of the pirates were just standing back saying, this is between the two of them. Or this is between him and the Gangles. Let's see how he does. But yeah, of course, ultimately he doesn't win. And the Jedi show up to to make sure he is, yeah, to rescue him. And yeah, like all he has to do is get on the ship, and they'll figure it out. But he has to stop doing evil, but he just won't right now. And I've talked about in videos on earlier episodes. He doesn't need to, because it's basically for the love of the game. It's not that he actually is poor and stealing to you know to eat and get by. Although, yeah, that's the thing. Like, is he gonna go back to the palace? Because I feel like once all these pirates know, I wouldn't rule out the Jedi would let Cyrus tell his parents when he was ready to, but I don't think the pirates are gonna, especially now that, because like this is obviously gonna affect his status. The fact that Tabor, because like when he shows up, they think, oh, this is Tabor, the pirate. Well, I guess he's here to pay tribute. They don't think, oh, it's the prince cosplaying as a bandit. Yeah, I think that might very well cover everything about this episode. Yeah, I like him taking off the helmet in front of the I am afraid I forget their names, and again, wrists to swords to check right now. But his two buddies there, he takes off his helmet, and at first he's like, "Well, I guess that's it." But I thought you should know the truth. But the little the pig one from Return of the Jedi, is okay with it, and the droid is as well okay with the identity reveal. Uh, yeah, I think that might cover everything. Um, I do appreciate that they still allow Tabor and other evil characters who engage in evil, to look cool doing it. Because like he jumps off and then uses the grappling hook thing. I miss playing Just Cause 3, but I do have Just Cause 4 coming up eventually. I got a lot of games to get through. That I get to play. Get through makes it sound like a chore, which it absolutely is not. Yeah, I think that covers the. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens in future episodes. And let's see. So yeah, really appreciate, I already mentioned Nash, having the right attitude. But in addition, so I'm, in my video on the episode before this one, I joked that, she better get, more, because she was like referenced, and I think she made a brief appearance, but, very, very little. The episode was about other characters. But yeah, they very much make up for that here. Not that they had to, because yeah, really, really cool. She really does a lot of heavy lifting in being able to get Cyrus safely away from the pirates. He gets himself away from there, but yeah, getting him away from the pirates at least is a big deal. And yeah, I mean, she says it herself. She knows how to make an entrance.